I ordered and paid for this before Christmas, and I didn't get a chance to fit it before I went on my break. Here's what happened after I got back. So it came in the box. It came with everything that you needed, including a pry tool. Yes, and this is worse than useless. It is so bendy, it would not open the bottom of the screen. So I called a friend of mine who I know he's fitted a few of these for people, and he said he had to develop a special little tool to pry the bottom bracket off the screen. So he very kindly allowed me to go around to his place, and he basically fitted it for me. I was going to do it myself, but I couldn't get the bottom bracket off. So my mate Richard Cooper, thank you very much. And here's a little video on how he went about fitting it for me. This is the bracket underneath that required this special tool. This is what Richard had made. Put it in there, puts a bar across and pulls it off very easily. Now that has actually got the cabin temperature sensor attached to it. So we have to unscrew or unbolt that off of that cover, because it will be going onto another cover when we've taken the screen off and put the new mount on. So this bit gets unscrewed and the temperature sensor is left hanging. There is a little bracket or mount around that comes off so that we can attach it to the new thing. Now, one thing we had forgotten here was it's always a good idea to disconnect the main battery and the big battery. So this is the one to come off first, and then this is the 12-volt battery. Now, to get to that, we had to take off the HEPA filter mount, which has got two 10mm bolts on it, I believe. Once we've done that, it's safe. If you've ever seen someone working on a big battery and accidentally touches something they shouldn't, the sparks that fly are quite spectacular. So it's always a good idea from a safety point of view. So there's two bolts underneath holding the screen on that can be undone. And then we've laid the screen down on a soft cloth to protect it. And then the bracket here has got, once again, two screws holding it in. So we'll take that off and that will get replaced with one of the items that comes in the kit. So save the screws, you'll need them. Now this is the main cable into the screen that powers and supplies the video signal. It's got a white bracket around it, which I've got no idea what it's for, but it's there. And then to get this plug out, all these cables on Teslas have got a double catch thing, so you've got to push in one catch and squeeze and pull. It's a bit fiddly, but once you've been practiced at it, things come off quite easily. So now the screen has been detached. We can take all the cables out of that bracket, and now we mount the swivel screen. This only has two bolts holding it in, so we'll place those two bolts on. Now there is underneath the swivel part an area that I think it's a 10mm Allen key that will adjust the strength of it. Once we got the screen on, we realized that it was probably a bit loose, so we took everything off again and adjusted the tightness a little bit. I don't show that. So these two bolts get done up, and then we can start putting things back together. And I'm really quite glad that Richard helped me with this. I was planning on doing it myself, but having seen what he's done, I'm glad he was there and basically did it for me. Thanks, Richard. So once the swivel bracket, and this one from Tessories is actually designed for right-hand drive. You can get left-hand drive ones. Richard did his own, and he got one of the first ones that was left-hand drive. So he actually had to machine it a little bit to get it to fit better on a right-hand drive. So this bracket just clips on. This is one of the new ones supplied, and the swivel bracket is there. So now that's on, we need to restart putting the screen back together. So the clip for the video signal power cable needs to be put back on once the little bracket there has been passed over it. And usually these just clip back on, bit of pushing down is fine. And there's that white clip again. No idea what it's for. Anybody let me know? Write in the comments below. Thanks very much. So once that's done, we now put that bracket back on. It's got the 2 screws. Other way around, Richard. Yes, thank you. So 2 screws, and then the screen is ready to be put back on. As you can see, hanging down there is the cabin temperature sensor, and that's the last thing that goes back, and it fits into that bracket. There's a new bracket that comes for it, and it will fit in there quite nicely. So we'll do up these 2 screws and the other one, and when that's done, the screen can be carefully placed back, and once again there will be 2 bolts to hold it onto the new swivel bracket. So 2 bolts underneath. As you can see, a lot of this is done by feel. So Richard's done this a few times before, so he knows what he's doing. So 1 bolt being done up, and then the other bolt being done up, and then you do those up reasonably tightly, and that will hold the screen onto the swivel mount. Right, so now that's all done, we get the little bracket that the cabin temperature sensor goes on. There's 2 actually in the kit, and this is the one that is needed for this particular model. It's based on the temperature sensor. So 2 screws to hold that on. There's 1. And after all this, obviously, we had to reconnect the batteries and power things up. And fingers crossed, it all worked. So that's the temperature sensor being mounted onto that little bracket. And as you can see, it goes in there. It did require a little bit of fiddling and pushing and clipping. So this was the original screen facing straight back. I can now turn it to face me, and I can angle it up and down. I've got 30 degrees this way, 30 degrees that way, and 15 degrees that way. So I can now position it so that from the driver's seat it's in a much better position. There you have it, the swivel screen mount installed. It was a lot more fiddly than I had anticipated, and I really want to thank Richard Cooper so much for actually helping me fit it. It comes as a kit from Tessories. They're not paying for this or anything. I bought this. But one thing I will say about them, when I put the order in, it was $249 Australian dollars. I noticed a couple of days later it had gone down to $199. So I emailed them and go, "Oh, And you know what? They sent me an email saying, yeah, sorry, no troubles. 2 days later, $50 had been returned into my account. So Tessories, I think you did the right thing there. tessories.com.au. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly now find the Model Y a lot easier to drive, having got that swivel screen there. When I jump into my Model 3, it does feel a little bit different, and I've only had it installed for about a week now. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, can you click that like and subscribe button below? It really does help, and I'll see you all very soon.